Welcome back to Get Down to Business. Today, we're diving into critical topics that are increasingly central to successful and sustainable organizations. We're going to talk about educational equity, social justice, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our guest is Dr. Joe McManus, who brings in over 30 years of experience as an activist in those fields. He's the author of A Brother's Insight, a book that shares actionable strategies for dismantling racism and speaks to the relentless pursuit of freedom. Dr. Jojo, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. I'm glad to be here.
You've dedicated, as I mentioned, over 30 years to promoting educational equity and social justice. Why should business leaders and entrepreneurs prioritize these concepts within their organizations, and what measurable impact can they see?
Well, that's a good question. I've spent the last 30 plus years working with not just educational institutions, but also corporations and government agencies and nonprofits. And there's benefits in every sector, right? I think in corporate in particular, the benefit is that you get better ideas, right? All the data shows us that, the more diverse perspectives you have, the more innovative that you are, the stronger the decisions you make are. So I think there's benefits up and down the line in corporate.
Absolutely. And your book, A Brother's Insight, offers actionable strategies for dismantling racism. What are some of those crucial steps that businesses can take to foster a truly equitable and inclusive workplace, moving beyond just mere compliance?
Well, I think you kind of hit it right there. They've got to, be serious about providing an equitable environment in the workplace, and one that's inclusive and really, developed in order to be able to take advantage of diverse perspectives, whether it's with marketing, product development, whatever it might be. But in order to get that, you really have to develop pipelines of, to bring in diverse perspectives, which shouldn't be confused with viewpoint diversity, which is at this point a dog whistle for bringing in racist views.
Again, I'm chatting with Dr. Joe McManus, and you've taught extensively on diversity and leadership, and you've served on many think tanks. What are some of the common misconceptions or the biggest challenges that business organizations face when trying to implement effective DEI initiatives, and how can they overcome them?
I think there are a couple of issues. Primarily, the issue is misinformation, right? There's a lot of misinformation out there about what diversity, equity, and inclusion work is. It's not about quotas. That's a very big misconception. It's not to discriminate against anybody. The whole purpose of it is to ensure nobody's discriminated against. So you have to deal with that sort of purposeful misinformation. And the other piece of that is that, unlike other fields, there's an incentive to hire people that either aren't very good at DEI or that are willing to do nothing, right? Nobody wants to hire the worst doctor, right? Or the accountant that graduated last in their class. There's no incentive for that. But for those that don't want to see equity and inclusion in the workplace, there's an incentive to bring in people that just don't do good work or that are willing to do nothing in order to be able to show examples of what doesn't work. And so those two things, I think, are a couple of our biggest challenges.
Yeah, well, in your book, you reflect on the challenges faced by your biracial daughter, and you speak to the relentless pursuit of freedom. How does this personal motivation inform your work with organizations, and how can leaders inspire a similar relentless pursuit of equity within their own teams?
Yeah, so, it is personal for me, of course. I grew up in a very diverse family in a place that wasn't very welcoming, to say the least, to who we were. And my daughter, who is, biracial, she's Indigenous American, she's African American, she's Jewish, and she's Irish. That's the cultural mix she brings to the table, right?
Ooh.
And so one of the things that I've learned and that her mom has learned is that her experience is even different from what we experienced, right? So there's more understanding of diverse cultures, diverse racial backgrounds among younger people. And so there's this need for ongoing learning around that. As far as the relentless, seeking of freedom and equity, the freedom piece really, it does speak to young people, right? They want to be free to be exactly who they are, not just in their own home, but in the workplace, in their community, in their schools and universities. And in order to be able to do that, We as professionals in whatever field we're in need to learn to make those environments more welcoming and more inclusive.
That's amazing. Well, we're just about out of time, and I want to leave the final word to you so our listeners can, of course, find the book, A Brother's Insight, as well as get in touch with you. But if you could share that information and also perhaps just one immediate practical action that a business owner that might be tuning in can take to begin building that environment that we've talked about for the past few minutes.
Yeah, the quickest way to learn more about the work I do or to get links to the book is to just go to my website, which is drjojo.com, drjoe.com, and everything's on there. As far as a simple thing that people can do, it's also probably the most important, which is to really think about your core values. And if anti-racism and being opposed to bias and oppression is a core value of yours, it will influence all of your decisions, whether it's in the home, the school, or at work. So if you really have that, hopefully that, if you can really embrace that core value, it will impact the decisions you make on everything, where you shop to, what you do if you're on a hiring panel. Doesn't matter. It'll affect all your decisions.
Dr. Joe McManus, thank you so much for joining us on the program. I can't wait to have you back on. Appreciate you. We're going to squeeze in a quick break here and get down to business. We'll be right back.